This evening, first, international drug seizures put Guyana in the spotlight after cocaine is discovered in shipping containers that left local ports. Investigators now probing how the illicit cargo entered the supply chain, plus a major boost for aspiring homeowners as Demerara Bank raises its loan ceiling to $40 million while holding a 5% interest rate. Also, billions approved to restore Stabroek Market and Bourda Green under a sweeping Georgetown revitalisation plan. Meanwhile, the University of Guyana expands hybrid learning and regional campuses as applications surge following free tertiary education. And in the region, deadly flooding in Northern Colombia sparks a humanitarian crisis, displacing hundreds of thousands. Those stories and more coming up. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for February 13th, 2026. I'm Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, two overseas drug busts have placed Guyana under scrutiny after cocaine was discovered hidden inside shipping containers that departed the country, prompting an international investigation into how the illicit cargo slipped into the supply chain. The Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit has confirmed that cocaine was discovered in two shipping containers that originated from Guyana following notifications from law enforcement authorities in Colombia and Belgium. According to CANU, the interceptions took place in February of 2026 in Europe and South America. The containers had been declared as carrying rice and chemicals, respectively. Preliminary information suggests that the shipments were transshipped on their way to their final destination. The agency indicated that it is highly likely the containers were contaminated during the transshipment process, noting that criminal networks often exploit transit points to insert illicit narcotics in an effort to bypass security measures at ports of origin. CANU said it is working closely with its international counterparts as investigations continue. Locally, the agency is collaborating with the Guyana Revenue Authority and the Guyana Police Force to determine how the narcotics were introduced into the consignments. Due to the sensitive nature of the matter, CANU stated that they cannot disclose further details at this time. On a different note, aspiring homeowners have received a major boost as Demerara Bank Limited announced an increase in its residential housing loan ceiling to $40 million while maintaining its competitive 5% interest rate. Effective February 9, 2026, the bank raised its maximum lending limit from $30 million to $40 million to address rising construction and housing costs. Under the revised structure, loans up to $40 million will attract an interest rate of 5% per annum on a reducing balance, positioning Demerara Bank as the only commercial bank in Guyana currently offering residential financing at that rate. The bank has also outlined a tiered interest structure. Loans up to $4 million will attract a 3.5% interest. Loans of $4 million to $9 million will attract 3.7% interest. Loans $9 million to $15 million will attract 4.5% interest. And loans of $15 million to $40 million will attract the 5% interest. Demerara Bank said the adjustment reflects the reality of steadily increasing material, labor, and contractor costs, which have made it more difficult for many Guyanese to complete or finance homes within traditional lending limits. The expanding ceiling is intended to better align financing options with current market conditions and modern housing needs. The bank emphasized that the move forms part of its ongoing commitment to supporting home ownership, strengthening communities, and ensuring that economic growth translates into tangible opportunities for citizens seeking long-term stability and security. In other news, the government has secured approximately $2 billion to restore, reconstruct, or rebuild the iconic Stabroek Market and the Bourda Green, known as the Bourda Market in Georgetown, as part of a broader plan to revitalize the capital city. The funding was approved by the Parliamentary Committee of Supply on Thursday and forms part of a $2.84 billion allocation under the Georgetown Restoration Initiative. The initiative aims to enhance infrastructure, restore historic landmarks, and create improved public spaces across the city. Minister of Local Government and Regional Development Priya Manik-Chan defended the allocations during the consideration of the 2026 budget estimates. She said the funds will support a range of projects, including the design and construction of green spaces in communities such as West Rheinfeld, East Rheinfeld, and North Rheinfeld. Additional allocations include a $100 million for further improvements to the Lamaha Street Transport and Harbor Carriageway, $200 million for upgrades to avenues across the city, and $150 million for rehabilitation works in the Municipal Training Council Central Area, in collaboration with the Mayor and City Council. The Georgetown Restoration Initiative forms part of the ministry's wider $36.6 billion budget, which includes funding for local government development, policy administration, and regional development. Stick around when we return. Government to launch panic app and legislation to tackle school violence, and UG expands hybrid learning and regional campuses as applications surge under free tertiary education.
Guyana. Mashramani time again and the energy is high. The Children's Mashramani Costume and Dance Competition is taking over the National Cultural Center on February 12th and 13th. Bright costumes, big moves, and young stars on stage. Then the vibes hit the streets with the Children's Costume and Road on February 14th, 2026. Pure color, culture, and excitement. Bring the kids, bring the crew, and bring the energy.
Guyana is a real nice place. Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Bourda, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. In response to rising incidents of bullying and gang-related threats in schools, the Ministry of Education is moving to bolster students' and teachers' safety with new technology and potential legislation. Minister of Education Sonia Parag revealed on Wednesday that the government is developing a panic app along with policies and possible legislation to address violence in schools. Speaking during the consideration of the 2026 budget estimates, Minister Parag said the measures built on the anti-bullying campaign launched last year, which has already received over 500 public recommendations through consultations.
There are a number of things that are being employed at the moment to tackle bullying. One of those things was to launch the anti-bullying campaign. That is not just a talk shop. It is going to materialize into an MOU followed by action. And it is a public consultation, getting the recommendation suggestions from the public. We have right now from that first public consultation over 500 recommendations and suggestions that we're working through. Plus, we are also today, His Excellency also announced a panic app that will be installed very soon, very shortly, correct? And we will be utilizing that as well. So there are many measures that will be employed over the next year.
President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali announced that the panic app will be modeled on a system used in Mexico, allowing at-risk schools, teachers, parents, and women to access rapid support during emergencies. The initiative forms part of a broader effort to address domestic abuse, school violence, and gang activities. The Ministry of Education says these measures, including the rollout of the app and potential legislation, will be implemented over the coming year to strengthen the safety and security of Guyana's school communities. Moving on, a major ganja trafficking case on the west coast of Bourda saw a split ruling on Thursday as one of the two women remanded in connection with a 345-pound marijuana seizure was granted bail, while her co-accused remains behind bars. Shimmy Bryant, 33, appeared before Magistrate Tuana Hardy at the Fort Wellington Magistrates Court and was released on $500,000 bail. Her bail conditions require her to lodge all travel documents and to report to the nearest police station every other Friday. However, her co-accused, 32-year-old Sarafina Chetty, was denied bail due to allegations that she committed a similar offense while on bail in a previous matter. Both women are charged with possession of narcotics for the purpose of trafficking following a January 24th interception. The court noted that the vehicle in which the drugs were found is not registered to either defendant, and the defense raised concerns about incomplete disclosure by the prosecution. No trial date has been set, but proceedings are expected in April or May. The case has been adjourned to March 26, 2026 for further reporting and disclosure. Both women have pleaded not guilty. On a different note, the University of Guyana is expanding its hybrid learning model and regional presence to accommodate a surge in student applications following the introduction of free tertiary education. This is according to Minister of Education, Sonia Parat. Addressing the Committee of Supply during the consideration of Budget 2026 estimates on Wednesday, Minister Parat said applications to UG have climbed to more than 16,000 since the Free University Initiative began in January of 2025. She explained that while the Turkine campus has a physical capacity of about 5,000 students, the university now delivers programs through a combination of in-person and virtual platforms. To meet rising demand, UG has expanded program delivery across several regions. Engineering students are accommodated at facilities such as the Essequibo Technical Institute, while regional centers support dozens more. The Institute of Distance and Continuing Education currently serves approximately 2,000 students. The minister also disclosed that 150 additional seats have been created in medicine alongside a new pre-medical program that already has 210 students enrolled. She added that a rapid assessment will be conducted to better align university training with Ghana's evolving economic needs. Don't go away after the break. Venezuela National Youth Day. Students protest across country against repression, and US-Iran talks. Trump sees negotiations continuing over the next month.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Bourda, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Guyana. Mashramani time again and the energy is high. The Children's Mashramani Costume and Dance Competition is taking over the National Cultural Center on February 12th and 13th. Bright costumes, big moves, and young stars on stage. Then the vibes hit the streets for the Children's Costume and Road on February 14th, 2026. Pure color, culture, and excitement. Bring the kids, bring the crew, and bring the energy.
Guyana is a real nice place.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I'm Dominic Gittins. Tonight, Mexican aid ships docks in Havana as U.S. pressure on Cuba intensifies. Venezuelan students march on National Youth Day. Flooding devastates Northern Colombia, and President Trump sets a deadline for talks with Iran. We begin in Cuba. Two Mexican ships carrying humanitarian aid have docked in Havana as the United States intensifies efforts to restrict Cuba's fuel supplies. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum confirmed additional assistance is planned, saying Mexico will continue sending support. She also pledged to promote dialogue between Havana and Washington, while stressing that any engagement must respect Cuba's sovereignty amid mounting regional tensions. Venezuela's students have taken to the streets on National Youth Day in the first major youth-led mobilization since the country's recent political transition. They are calling for the release of political prisoners, justice, and a greater role for young people in shaping the country's future. Al Jazeera's Norris Soto reports.
Thousands of students marched through the streets of Caracas on February the 12th, Venezuela's National Youth Day. The date commemorates the Battle of La Victoria, when young fighters played a key role in the country's independence struggle. In recent years, it has also become a symbol of student activism and political protest. This year's march comes at a time of political transition, but students say their demands are clear: freedom for political prisoners and justice for the victims of repression.
We demand freedom for all political prisoners.
Many students say they remain skeptical of the political process. They insist that promises of reform must be matched with concrete actions, starting with the release of detainees.
All I have is hope. How could I not have hope when the students are here standing up for the country?
Organizers say the mobilization is only the beginning. They plan to keep protesting until their demands are met, and say young people must remain active in shaping the country's future.
Until all civil and political rights are restored, we will remain in the streets.
Youth Day has been linked to major protest waves in Venezuela, including the demonstrations that began with students' marches in 2014. For many, the date represents both sacrifice and resistance. On this day, students say the country stands at a crossroads, and they insist that they will keep flood the streets again until their demands for justice and freedom are fulfilled. Norris Soto, Al Jazeera, Caracas.
Unseasonal heavy rains and severe flooding across Northern Colombia have created a full-blown humanitarian crisis, killing 14 people and displacing hundreds of thousands. Al Jazeera's Alessandro Rampietti reports.
This is the devastation across Colombia's northern department of Córdoba. Entire neighborhoods and vast stretches of farmland lie underwater after days of relentless rain, rivers surging beyond their banks. An Arctic cold front sweeping down from North America saturated the Sinú River basin, unleashing historic flooding downstream from the Bourda Dam. In the area's capital, Monteria, streets turned into canals. Residents rushed to salvage what they could as water levels rose rapidly, but for many it was too late.
I did everything I could, but the water rose very quickly from 1 meter to 2 meters. I couldn't recover anything. Everything was lost. Everything.
Authorities say at least 14 people have died and more than 150,000 have been displaced. The National Cattle Ranchers Association reports at least 1,200 head of livestock are gone. Up to 80% of the region remains underwater after rainfall that shattered historical records for February, typically one of the driest months of the year.
What has happened in recent days in Cordoba, Antioquia, and across much of the Caribbean coast is unprecedented, something that could not have been foreseen.
President Gustavo Petro flew over the disaster zone to assess the damage firsthand. He's now declared a state of emergency in 8 departments.
The emergency decree grants the president 30 days of extraordinary powers, allowing him to redirect national budget funds and even introduce new temporary taxes without Congress approval.
The government hopes to raise roughly $2.2 billion to respond, even as Colombia faces mounting fiscal pressure. Previous attempts to invoke extraordinary economic powers in response to climate emergencies have been struck down by the courts as unconstitutional. But this time, the government argues, the scale of devastation leaves no alternative. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, Bogotá.
President Donald Trump reiterates his willingness to negotiate with Iran, but warns of traumatic consequences if no agreement is reached, setting a rough 1-month time frame. Al Jazeera's Shia Britansi reports.
Hello, everybody. Donald Trump repeated his commitment to negotiations with Iran, but warned of traumatic consequences if no deal is reached. And for the first time, he gave a time frame for that ultimatum.
But it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them. I guess over the next month, something like that. Yeah, it should happen quickly. They should agree very quickly.
Trump met with the Israeli Prime Minister at the White House on Wednesday. Iran was top of the agenda. And on his way back to Israel after his visit, Benjamin Netanyahu said he'd made his feelings clear.
I won't hide from you that I expressed general skepticism about the quality of any agreement with Iran. But I said that if a deal is indeed reached, it must include the elements that are very important from our perspective, from Israel's perspective, and I believe not only Israel's. It's not just the nuclear issue, it's also ballistic missiles and Iran's proxies.
That Donald Trump is committed to negotiations has been emphasized, but in interviews he has raised the possibility that the talks would expand beyond Iran's nuclear program as Israel wants. Iran says those issues aren't just off the table, their very inclusion may lead to a costly regional war. Hanging over everything are the events of last summer when Donald Trump spoke of his commitment to negotiations with Iran over its nuclear program and then bombed the country anyway. Shia Bertansi, Al Jazeera, the White House.
Thanks, Dominic. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the Friday Week forecast. And that's it to the 2 headline news for this Friday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. We will be out for the weekend, but you can tune in on Monday at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other and do have a wonderful weekend.